Welcome to my channel, everybody out there. My name is Dr. Sarah B. This is the Lovers and Leaders channel. This is all things getting you prepared to be the best lover in your relationship so you can have healthy relationships and healthy experiences and choose with discernment, and also preparing you to be amazing, authentic, transformational leaders, okay, in the workplace and beyond. So in today's video, I really want to highlight certain red flags or just some life lessons that I have observed when I've been an employee, being interviewed, okay, especially that, and certain things I really just didn't clock into, in my 20s, right, in my 30s. And so I really want to be able to share these experiences so that you Gen Zs, millennials like myself out there, and Gen Alphas are really tuned in when you are going for job interviews and you're not anxious, you feel empowered, take control. I mean, the fact that you're coming for an interview, that's a really beautiful green flag. They are almost wanting to have you as part of their organization. But this is where the control is, the self-control is for you, is that they have chosen you for the interview. So there's something about you that is special. But I want you to also be conscious of, do you want to choose them? After the interview, do you want to choose them? So this is why during the time of the interview, you want to maximize this time and ask, much needed questions. Yes, about the job, which is so important, but also, which is really important to me as an industrial organizational psychologist, what's also important is understanding who, the type of people you're going to work with, the culture of the workplace environment, their norms, and also the climate in this workplace as well, and even the industry that your job, your organization is part of as well, because this is all going to matter in terms of your longevity in your job in that particular workplace, and just your job satisfaction in general, right? And whether you're going to grow, right? And your happy factor, all right? Where are you going to be happy or not? All right? Or is this just going to be another job where you have to just kind of like, push yourself through all day and have a lot of emotional labor? In IO psychology, there's a term called emotional labor, where basically you're having to put on a face, a front, having to tuck away your real emotions just to acquiesce to that workplace environment, including if the workplace environment is, toxic or semi-toxic. You just have to just kind of just get through the grind of the day, right? And for me and many IO psychologists out there, I don't want that for you. All right, we need to break the cycle. We need to be very aligned with how we spend our time, because our time is our asset. We can't get again. So make sure that you are taking full advantage when you are in your job interview. The question you need to keep asking yourself is, do you want them? Do you want to work with them and for them? Do you want to represent them? Do you want to represent their brand? So when you're coming to the interview, of course, make sure that you've done your due diligence to understand what this job is really about, because they're going to want to dig a little bit deeper of how much of this job that they're offering have you done before. All right, so be very honest with yourself. How much of this job that they've put in the job description have you done before, and how have you done it? And I'm sure certain questions will be about how you overcome certain challenges, right? So when you come into that job interview, one of the things I want you to keep in the front of your mind, and to ask the question if need be, if they don't give the answers to this question, is, who's your immediate supervisor? Is your immediate supervisor part of the interview panel? This is really important. In the very early parts of my career, when I didn't, I wasn't so tuned in about the psychology of people in the workplace. I just was observing. I was being part of it. You're young. You're not prepared to deal with the workplace shenanigans oftentimes. Of course, you hear things from your parents and people, older than you, but you don't really know what to really expect unless you've really experienced the workplace, right? And I've been able to experience workplaces that are pretty semi-toxic, and also workplaces that are complete delight to work in, really good people, right? So I've experienced both spectrums. So during this interview, I want you to ask the question, once a lot of the high level job type questions have been asked already and answered, is who is my immediate supervisor? If that immediate supervisor is not part of the interview panel, this is a red flag. I have had in my early career, I have had 2 different jobs where my immediate supervisor, the one that's going to be training me, onboarding me, was not part of the interview panel. And guess what happened? I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but literally, because they were not part of it, I often experience a lot of conflict with this particular individual. And I didn't clock into this phenomenon of having the immediate supervisor in as part of your interview process. Not until when I had really delightful workplace experiences where I had my immediate supervisor as part of the interview process, I began to see the difference. So you have to ask yourself, if in fact your supervisor is part of the interview panel, this is a beautiful green flag, because that supervisor is invested, wants to get to know you, likely has good standing with the other leaders and employees in the workplace. That's why they're part of this interview panel. They care who they're going to work with. And if they are part of the interview panel, it tells me that they still like the job. And they want to continue liking their job by ensuring that they hire the right person, you, as part of this workplace, right? Now, if they're not part of the interview panel, red flag. Everything I just said positive, flip it to be negative. My experience of when that immediate supervisor, the trainer, the person that's going to do your timesheet is not part of the interview panel, let me tell you, those colleagues that are part of the interview panel, they know what they're doing. They know that immediate supervisor is troublesome. They know. That's why they're like, yeah, no, he or she cannot be part of this. They know. They know. And you should know. All right? That person's going to give you hell if that immediate supervisor is not part of the interview panel. So please clock into this when you're part of that interview process. If it's not obvious to you who the immediate supervisor will be for your job role, ask the question. And if they are there, dig in a little bit more. Ask questions like, let me keep it 100% with you. These are called realistic job questions, all right, and behavioral questions. Ask them, how long have you been a supervisor? What is it that, you're enjoying part of this role? What are the wins and successes of the team so far? What are the opportunities for improvement that you see that this job role can fulfill? And what are your expectations of somebody, personality-wise and also skills-wise for this job? You got to go literally much deeper when that supervisor is there. And if there are other panelists there, ask them, what is your role, your interaction with somebody in this job role? Excuse me, guys. Slight noise. Okay? So if there's more than one person that you are being interviewed with, like in real time, like a group interview, or if it's one-on-one, ask them, what is your interaction with the person in this job role that you're interviewing for? You need to dig deep. You need to know the nature of the personalities that you're going to work with. And you need to not be desperate, going in there desperate, all right? Acting as if you have to just prove yourself to get the job. You have to also show a level of emotional intelligence and leadership of your life and professionalism an entrepreneurial nature, whereby you're like very grateful for the interview, but you're also asking deep questions to really see if this will be not only a job fit for you, but also will this be a workplace fit for you as well as personality fit. All right, that's one thing about IO psychologists. That fit is so important to the success of the job role and the functional department and the business in general, that people fit in as much as possible. So this is why this upfront work during the interview, right, is where you get to really know if this is where you're going to be in for the next 3 years, 5 years, or even more. All right, because nobody wants a 6 months enrollee or a 1 year person. People do want more. So this is why this interview process is super important. And the more you ask questions, the more they can see that you care and you're interested, not just about the job, but whether you're going to fit with the team. And people that think about how they're going to fit into the team, those are people that are beyond the average. Those are those kind of people who are leaders, influencers in the workplace. You may not have a leadership title, but you'll have influence because you're really caring about whether or not you're the best person for this job and this environment. All right? That's a very wise man or woman to ask such questions. So yeah, red flag, if that supervisor is not part of the interview panel and you get that job, get ready for hot soup. Okay? It's not a good sign. It's definitely not a good sign. All right? So it's really, really important to have that immediate supervisor as part of the interview panel as well. Ask questions also about some everyday things, right? Of course, what is the typical hours of operations for your job? Is there flexibility there? All right. Ask questions about in the current team right now. Is everybody working the same job hours? All right. And is that working for the current operations? You may be somebody that wants to work a little bit earlier or a little bit later. Ask them, if you working a little bit later, will that be beneficial to their job operations? I've been in customer service and logistics, and yes, having people that can come in a little early for me and a little later is very much important because, customers, transportation companies, they work various hours of the day. So ask the question, even though if they give you like an 8 to 4 in the job description, or maybe they won't give you anything, ask them, what's the average job hours here? And, like I said, if you are somebody that wants to work earlier and leave earlier or later, or you want to start a little bit later, leave a little later, ask them this as an option. I'm someone that's interested in an earlier job schedule. Will this be beneficial to the operations of this department? Ask them the question. Let them know you're thinking. They're going to ask you questions such as, challenges you've overcome, for example. Ask them, what are the current challenges in the industry, right? That this particular job or organization is in. If they don't even, have some feedback to that, they're not so well versed in the industry, that could be a red flag. Because if you're somebody that likes to grow, you're gonna probably grow your growth is dependent on people that's around you, right? So if they don't know much about the industry, they can't respond to your industry questions, that's as far as you're gonna grow. All right. And it'll also red flag to I forgot to say, the red flag to the operations, the hours of operations, if they're not flexible in that, red flag. All right, so that's what you're gonna have to deal with. You have to ask yourself the real questions. Can I handle this? Can I deal with this for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? You got to be honest with yourself. It's like going out on a date. Don't just take anything. This is part of knowing who you are. I made another video about this. Like, as a Gen Z, millennial, Gen Alpha, for baby boom, if you're watching this, you got to know who you are. If you don't like it, don't say yes to it. But don't say no immediately. The thing about these job interviews as well is that you get to ask the questions and see if certain things are negotiable. If they're not negotiable and you're okay with that, cool. If they're not negotiable and you're not okay with that, then you have to make certain decisions. All right? And ask the panelists, ask during the one-on-one interviews, what do you like about this company? All right? What do you like about this company? And also ask them how long they've been in this company. What's some opportunities of improvement in their work that connects to your job role? Because you want to see how many people that you are working with and the personalities. Okay. Ask them questions about, do they have some team building exercises? All right. It's not just about work, right? Do they have some times where the teams can come together and talk about other things outside of work? All right. This helps to massage and strengthen positive interactions in the workplace and create a lot of buddies, friends in the workplace. That helps with retention. Research has shown that. All right. And ask yourself those questions like, can you see yourself working with these people? All right. What I want you to do during this interview is try to be as personable as possible so that the interviewers can also be as personable as possible as well. Because there's only so much data you can gather during these interviews, but really try and get as much information as possible to really see, will you fit with the job? Will you fit with the workplace needs? Will you fit with these personalities? This is part of growing up and taking responsibility of your career. Okay? Really, really important. Ask them also questions about the role that you are in. Is it a new role? If it's a new role, ask them, okay, what was the reason for expanding in this new role? All right. Ask them the questions of, and if they can't really answer that, that's a red flag. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? Ask them also the question like, the person. So this role you have, is somebody already sitting in this role currently? Or are there multiple other people having the same job title, right? And this is important too, to know. Like, in terms of growth, right? So if there's 3 other people that has your job title, okay, that's in the positive realm, this is a good team that you could be part of. It could be positive. Everyone's on the same level, right? But then follow up with, what is the career uptick of this role? Like, is there a career path? All right, is there opportunities to grow? Listen to what they're saying and take it very seriously. All right, because you let them know that you see yourself you want to be in a position for 5+ years. So you are ready to do this job, but you also want to expand in this job if there's some possibilities for that. If they don't have that, well, you have to ask yourself the question, are you okay sitting in a job role, the same job role for 5+ years? This is your time. Your time is your asset. How are you using it? Remember, you're the one making these decisions about your career. I don't want you to be desperate. I want you to be very conscious and cognizant of what you're saying yes to. All right? So you're not blaming anyone else. You're not blaming your employer. You're the one, take a responsibility of what jobs you go after. All right? You can also ask the question like, people in your current job role or in your immediate workplace environment, what's the average tenure of people in the workplace? Because you want to figure out, what the turnover is. Are they averagely staying in that job for 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, 5 years? Even your current role you're applying for, ask them, how long was that person in this role? Especially if it's not a new job. You're gauging some, deep dive, under the surface data about the workplace you are working, operating in, that you want to operate in. Don't just take jobs willy-nilly. Not in this era. We're not taking any jobs willy-nilly. Okay, so it's just really, really important to pay attention to their responses to your questions, especially when you're trying to gauge information about the workplace environment. Really pay attention to how they respond, how they react, to really see if they actually like their job, if they actually like their workplace environment. These are the people you're going to work with, all right, every day. But especially at the top of this discussion, I talked about having your immediate supervisor there, unless they are on some medical leave or some other maternal, paternal leave. If they are not there, that's the biggest red flag I can give you. Why? Because it really tells me about that supervisor and the interaction they have with the other colleagues they're interviewing you, and the future issues that you're likely going to have with that immediate supervisor if they are not part of this interview panel. I hope this really resonate with you and you were enlightened about certain things that you never thought of before, because I really want you to be very empowered and be successful in what type of jobs that you choose to say yes to. Okay, all right, it's really, really important you take responsibility of this, and I just want you to have a really good experience of where you're going to be. And so ask the questions, and also do your research. Go to websites such as glassdoor.com to really get some insights of what it's like working in that job role or working in that workspace. Okay, so do me a favor, give me a comment to let me know what you really thought about this video, so I can make similar videos in the future. Before you head out, give me a like if it really resonate with you. Remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell button so you don't miss another time with me. And also share it with somebody. Share this video with somebody that really needs to prepare strategically for a job interview. Until next time, stay blessed and be successful in your career path. It's important. Bye for now.